All right, today we're continuing our series, Impossible. We are navigating through the 7 miracles of Jesus as shared by John in the Gospel of John. John makes it a point to highlight 7 miracles. And he says in his book that Jesus performed many more miracles, many more things, but he highlighted these 7 so that we may believe. And so he highlights 7 miracles, and we're going to journey through these 7 miracles all the way to Resurrection Sunday. And so today we're highlighting the 3rd miracle that Jesus shared in his ministry and his mission. And each miracle brings a lesson. Each miracle reveals a facet, reveals something about Jesus, something about how Jesus operates, something about how God operates and how he wants to bless us and call us into his reality. Jerry Seinfeld is one of my favorite comedians. If you like comedy, he's a classic. He's been on the scene for many years now. And he has this joke that he says that about the best years of a dad's life. He says that you can always tell dad's best year of his life by what he's wearing. Because every dad freezes his fashion style in the best year of his life. And that's why I put this on today. This is very 2000s, It's almost vintage. And so I'm a walking example today. Sometimes we get stuck in seasons voluntarily, like this joke from Jerry Seinfeld, which is very true. Sometimes we get stuck in seasons voluntarily, but other times we just get stuck. It's not so innocuous. It's not so inconsequential. We're just stuck. Why do we get stuck? Why do we stay stuck? See, we all will get stuck at some point in life. It's normal because when you're moving forward, when you're taking ground, when you are advancing, you're bound to find some resistance. At some point, at some place, you're bound to find something in life that's going to hold you in place for a little while. So we will all get stuck in different seasons of life, but the problem is staying stuck. It's when you get stuck and you stay stuck. And there are many things that can get us stuck. We get overloaded, we get hurt, we get disillusioned, we get hopeless. Maybe we run out of options. Maybe you're just out of steam and you don't know how to move forward. Have you ever met someone who got stuck or even stayed stuck in a season? It's discouraging, right? Maybe you're here today and you yourself feel that way, hung up on an unhealthy relationship. You're kept from moving forward, or somebody who maybe is facing an addiction and the addiction is crippling them. Every time they take 3 steps forward, the addiction hits and takes them back to square one. Or maybe, it's a loss that you've suffered and you don't know how to move on. Or, that guy or girl who peaked in high school and they embraced that identity and don't know how to move forward. It's a stereotype of our culture, but it's part of life sometimes. We get stuck in a season because we embrace the peak of that season and we don't know how to exist apart from that. I don't know if you've ever gotten stuck. If there's any area in your life where you feel like you're stuck right now. Maybe you feel like you should be further ahead. Now, there's a process that we all go through in life. I believe that there are stages that we all see in life, circumstances that cause us to progress in a certain way. And we all start in a similar place. We all start in naivety. It's a bit of a big word, right? Naivety. It's just that sense of innocence. It's that sense of, man, you just feel like, everything is beautiful, everything is wonderful, and you're sitting there in your chair of naivety. And I don't know if you remember that season in life when everything was wonderful and amazing. Remember when you loved everybody? when everyone was great. Remember before you found out your boyfriend was a jerk? Your first boyfriend was a jerk, when you thought about dating and you thought, it's going to be wonderful. I just want to hold hands. And then your heart was broken. And you're like, this is not good. But you were naive. Remember when your friend told you that he had a business opportunity for you. All it would take was a small investment and a monthly maintenance fee. And, it wasn't going to cost you much. But if you could get 10 people to do the same thing, man, in a year, you'll be driving a BMW. Remember that? If it sounds too specific, I've never done that, but I came close. I came very close. And if you did that, it's because you were sitting in the throne of naivety, loving everyone and hoping for great opportunities. You face things like these, and if you have faced things like these, or maybe other things that you can relate, you might not want to admit it, or maybe you didn't want to admit it at the time, but maybe your dad knew, your mom knew, your friends knew that you were being naive. And now you know you were being naive, but at the time, you didn't. We all start at that place because naivety is a privilege of the sheltered and the inexperienced. And we all, at some point, were sheltered. Some of you got away from under that shelter either by voluntary choice or by force, really young in life. But maybe for you it took a little bit, but you came out of it. Because if you're going to move forward in life, you may start there, but it's rare that you will stay there. See, here's what happens often. When you are naive, when you're moving through life and you're taking ground, something will happen that will break your naivety. You will go through something. Might be a heartache, a heartbreak. It might be betrayal, disappointment, maybe abandonment, things like these. And from naivety, many times what happens is we move to cynicism. And that's the next thing that we move to. See, cynicism is another big word, but we're all familiar with cynicism, right? It's the sense that you get that, you know what? I'm not going to get fooled again. And cynicism sometimes can be attractive because when you sit in the throne, in the seat of cynicism, the way you see life, you see a little bit differently now. I'm not going to make some stupid investment in some pyramid scheme. No, you're not going to fool me, man. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, strike three. When you're a cynic, you don't want to get hurt again. Now, we all know that this is not a great place to be in. We all know that this kind of disconnects you from everyone because you're suspicious of everyone. It disconnects you from things because you just don't believe anything, right? You're always going to think like, I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure about this world. I'm not sure about this guy. I'm not sure about this party. I'm not sure about this country. I'm not sure about this city. I'm not sure about anything. I just am not sure because I don't want to get fooled. But here's the thing that's attractive about cynicism. At least you're not naive. Right? I mean, you were here and you got hurt and your heart was broken. Now you're here. It's not ideal. It's not the best. But at least you're not there anymore. And what happens in life is because of heartache, because of pain, because of betrayal, because something happened, we come here and we don't know how to move on from here. And a lot of people in different seasons and different areas of life, this is where they get stuck. Because cynicism comes to you disguised as wisdom, disguised as, now I know better. And it can be attractive, but how do you move on? How do you move on? That's what we're looking at today, because if you think about the moments in life where you got stuck here, something needs to change you from this place to the next one. And if you pay attention to the miracles of Jesus, every single thing Jesus did that brought the impossible to somebody's life necessitated a change of mind. The person needed to change the way they saw the world. And many times when we're stuck in cynicism, that's what needs to happen. There's got to be a change of mind, a change of spirit. Let's go to the miracle that we're talking about today. See, the change of mind is really the spirit of repentance. The spirit of repentance is this idea of metanoia. And Jesus started his ministry with this idea of repentance. Look at this miracle, John chapter 5, verses 1 through 15. Sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now, there is in Jerusalem, near the sheep gate, a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Here, a great number of disabled people used to lie: the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I'm trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." At once the man was healed, and he picked up his mat and walked. The day on which this took place was a Sabbath. And so the Jewish leaders said to the man who had been healed, "It is the Sabbath, the law forbids you to carry your mat." But he replied, "The man who made me well said to me, pick up your mat and walk." So they asked him, "Who is this fellow who told you to pick up your mat and walk?" It sounds like a little, Who is this fellow who told you to pick up your mat and walk? The man who was healed had no idea who it was, for Jesus had slipped away into the crowd that was there. Later, Jesus found him at the temple and said to him, "See, you are well again. Stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you." The man went away and told the Jewish leaders that it was Jesus who made him well. There's a lot of things happening in this passage, a lot of things happening in the story, but I want you to, something that got me is the fact that I want you to pay attention to this. He was stuck for 38 years. 38 years facing this condition, 38 years bound to a mat. 38 years. Now, we don't know why he arrived at this condition. We don't know what got him there, but we can make some assumptions. It was a physical condition. Be safe to say that he probably had a physical trauma. It doesn't say that he was an invalid from birth. It says that he was an invalid and had been in that condition for 38 years. Maybe it was a virus. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it was a fall. But something happened in his life that got him from a place of being well to a place of being an invalid and being stuck. Something caught him by surprise and paralyzed him. And there he was. Another thing that you can notice is that he had been abandoned. He had been left alone. And when Jesus shows up, the first thing he does is to justify his condition. It's the first thing he does. He looks at Jesus and he says, "I don't have anyone. I've been left here. I'm helpless. I still try, but it's kind of pointless because everyone else is faster than me." He was stuck. How would you feel if you were stuck for 38 years? 38 years. He wasn't a young man anymore. 38 years. The best of his life was given to that mat. 38 years. Not a single family member or friend willing to help you. Could you imagine being in his condition? Could you imagine the mindset of a man like that? How would you feel? I imagine he was bitter. I imagine he wasn't happy about life. Of course not. He was bitter, maybe even a little bit of a cynic. You can hear that in his tone. Jesus asked, do you want to get well? I have no one to get me in the pool. I'm all alone here. And every time the waters are stirred so that people can get healed, it was a first come, first served basis. Somebody else comes in front of me and they take my place. Can't do it. I've tried. It's not working. In other words, Jesus, the system is rigged against me. The system is rigged. It may work. It works for some people, but not me. No, not me. It doesn't work for me. Only for a few. See, Jesus, the people who get well, they have friends and family here with them. See, Jesus, the people who get well, they have preferred access to the pool. The people who get well, they cut to the front of the line. I have no chance. He was stuck. Couldn't see a way out. What would be your reply to Jesus today if you feel stuck right now in a season? Maybe it's your finances, maybe it's your relationship, maybe it's your emotion, maybe it's something in your life that you feel stuck in. What would you tell Jesus? Jesus, the people who get well have generational wealth. I don't have that. Jesus, the people who get well, they were born in this country. I had to come here and start all over again. People who get well, Jesus, they have a loving wife. I'm all alone. They have a loving husband. I haven't found one yet. The people who get well, Jesus, they have the right connections, and I'm kind of shy and I don't really know people, so I'm trying. See, your mind can get so conditioned to the environment that we're in, to the dysfunction that we're experiencing, to the things that we have gone through, that our thoughts become calcified. The possibilities ossify between naivety and cynicism. This trajectory right here, everything that happened in between, our possibilities, our view for the future gets calcified. And we think there's no way I can leave this position because the people who get well, they don't fit my description. There are things happening in my life that keep me from moving forward. That's what happens. That's when cynicism can creep in. And we think, there's only one way forward, and I'm not able to move. It's not me. See, cynicism can make you blind and bitter. Keeps you from seeing the possibilities. Even when Jesus himself steps in front of you and asks you whether you want to get well. I want to tell you something important today. God is not interested in what's getting you stuck. Did you know that? God is not interested in what's holding you back. He knows your story. He knows why you're stuck. He knows about your credit card debt. He knows about the fight you had. He knows about the mistakes you've made. He knows about the things that you have done. He knows about your dark secrets. He knows about the things you regret. He knows about your cynicism. He knows. He's not interested in that. He's already worked that out. That's why Jesus didn't go in asking the man, tell me your story. Are you hurting? Tell me about your pain. And let's sit right here. No. He comes in and he asks the man, do you want to get well? In other words, God is interested on whether you have the faith to move forward, to get up from your place of disbelief and have the faith to say, I can see a way out. God is interested in knowing whether you want to get well, whether you want to move on, whether you want to leave this place that has you stuck and have some mobility. See, for you to see the impossible in your life, It's going to take some action. It's going to take some action. That's why Jesus said to him, get up, pick up your mat, and go. Get up, pick up your mat, and go. See, sometimes we can get discouraged when we're stuck. And when we're stuck, here's what happens. We long for the days of old. Because distance makes your heart grow fonder, right? And sometimes we're stuck in cynicism, and that's what cynicism does. Yeah, it was so fun when I was over there. There was just a way that I could get back over there. If there was just a way that it could start again, maybe I could skip this step. Isn't it true that sometimes when we're stuck in a pattern, we put our head on the pillow at night and we think, how can I get back? I just want to go back. Remember Men in Black? The neuralizer? The neuralizer was a device in a movie called Men in Black, and if you are from the 1900s, if you were born in the 1900s, you remember this movie came around the year 2000. Everybody who knows the movie is feeling old right now. And in this movie was a trilogy. They made a fourth, but don't watch the fourth. The trilogy, it was about alien on Earth, like aliens activity here on this planet, and there's this agency that takes care of alien activity. And the way they take care of it is they come to this situation, they deal with the aliens, and then everybody who was exposed to alien activity, they get to pull out this device called a neuralizer, and then they flash the light in front of people's eyes, and every thought or memory of the alien activity disappears. It just goes away. And the person goes back like nothing ever happened. And sometimes we want a neuralizer for the things that got us here. We don't want to be cynics. Of course not. Because cynicism makes you bitter. Cynicism makes you blind. And you can stay here for a little bit and feel like you are better than everybody else. Feel like, But when getting stuck makes you realize that everybody's moving on and you're staying behind, then as bitterness sets in. And you want to move forward, but if you can't move forward, well, how about going back? Neuralize me, Lord. Neuralize me, Lord. Make me forget. Make me go back. I wish for the days of old. I just want to be naive again. Can I just go on a first date without realizing that all men are dogs? That's a cynicism, right? Can I go on a first date again without realizing that? I'm not going to say anything negative about women. I'm not going there. But the comments are out there because I have a lot of single guys who've been on the market for a while. And they say, JD, you were blessed. It's tough out here. God, can you just erase my memory so that I can start again? See, what I love about this miracle is that there's so many things that surprise you. This whole passage, each verse changes the narrative, and you go like, wait, what just happened? And John writes like it's the most normal thing. Let's just start by saying that there's a pool in Jerusalem by the sheep gate. It's an indoor pool. Okay, great. First century indoor pools, they seem to be popular. But in this pool, something happens. There is a being that comes and stirs the water, and the first person in the water gets healed. He writes like it's normal. This is just happening. Everybody knows about it. Nobody's making a big fuss about it. Miracles are happening in this place. And then there's a man who's in that place. And he's been stuck for 38 years. We don't know if he's been in that place for 38 years, but he's been in that place for a long time because people know their story, his story. And then look at verse 6. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, do you want to get well? This This is beautiful. Because it's like Jesus came looking for him. There's a lot of people in that place. Why didn't Jesus walk in? I'm the Son of God who wants to get well. No. Jesus is like, I heard of a man. I don't know if this happened, but I imagine, because he comes there in that place and he picks him out of the crowd. And friends, I just want to encourage you today, if you are in a circumstance where it surprised you and you don't know how you got here, but situation after situation, circumstance after circumstance got you into a place where you're stuck. Everyone else has moved on and you're stuck and you're feeling alone, like no one is there for you. The God of the universe comes looking for you. The God of the universe, he walks into your situation, he comes looking for you. While everyone else is walking past you, where everyone else is trying to outdo you, where everyone else is cutting in line in front of you, the God of the universe steps in that circumstance and he comes looking for you. When you're sitting in the seat of cynicism, not knowing what to do to get up and move forward, the God of the universe comes looking for you. And that's why God called us to Stamford, Connecticut, because Jesus came looking for you. That's why this church is here, because Jesus came looking for you. That's why Connect Community exists, because Jesus came looking for you. If you're stuck, if you need a miracle today, if you need God to do the impossible, if you need breakthrough, we're calling this year the year of breakthrough. Going back is not the answer. You need to know going back is not the answer. You may want to go back. It may be attractive to go back. But you have to listen to the words of Jesus. Because see, even when Jesus came and asked him, do you want to get well? He was still stuck in that frame of mind. Jesus, I don't have anybody to help me, and this is the only way. Got to tell your friend, that's not the only way. Because when Jesus comes looking for you, he's not going to work within the system. He's not going to work within the things that have you stuck. He's going to speak faith into you, and he's going to get you out of there. So that's why he says, look at verse 8. Then Jesus said to him, get up, pick up your mat, and walk. He is inviting you to move from cynicism to believe again, to go from naivety to move again from cynicism into divine trust. This is how you can move forward. By trusting in God. Not by believing from a place of naivety. See, because you can believe here. But it's because you believed here that you feel like, man, this is just blind belief. No, this is just inexperienced belief. A place of naivety is a place where, you didn't know better. So you believed anything and everything. You believed in God, but you also believed in burning sage. You believed in God, you also believed in having some crystals in your drawer to give you energy. You believed in God, but you were reading the horoscope every day, hoping that the stars will guide you. And it's people put their faith because they want to believe. I'm not making fun of it. Like, this is real. Like, people are seeking God. They're seeking everywhere. So they just say, God is everywhere. They just believe. Then you get involved in some dark things, some demonic things, some evil things, and you say, I don't want to be innocent anymore. But from here, God is not calling you to go back. He's asking you not to be naive again. You're going to bring your story. You're going to pick up your mat. You're going to bring your lessons. You're going to bring the things you know. You're going to be wide-eyed because faith in God is not blind faith. Faith in God is believing consciously. You may have gotten hurt in your relationships. Life may have been tough, but you're not naive anymore. Your faith is not naive anymore. But here's the thing, you're not a cynic either. The pain that you suffered when you live in divine trust, it doesn't affect you anymore. You remember it, you remember the lessons, but they don't affect you anymore. You move forward. And that's what picking up your mat really means. You pick up your mat because God is not inviting you to forget. He's not neuralizing you. You pick up your mat because you say, this is my story that's being redeemed. Yes, my heart was broken. Yes, I went through a divorce. Yes, I have fought cancer. But now I'm trusting God, and He is giving me a brighter future. He's giving me direction. He's giving me a new life, a new light, and He's doing the impossible in my life. And this is not a place of cynicism. This is not a place of blind trust. This is a place of rest. You can rest in God. I don't know how you wake up in the morning, but it's great to wake up in the morning at peace. I don't know if the first thing you do is go through your Instagram or Tickety Talks, or maybe you do Threads or X or whatever. Maybe you go read the news. It's so discouraging. It's such a downer. You know, it can make you feel uncertain. What's going on in our country? Some of you are hopeful. Some of you are, man, you're worried. You might have friends or family members that are dealing with immigration right now, and you're thinking, man, what's going to happen to my life? I want to invite you to sit in the seat of divine trust, to just rest and trust that God has you in the palm of His hand. Now, when He tells you to go pick up your mat and walk, He's not saying go alone. He meets you along the way. That's why Jesus came back looking for him again. See, you're well. You're doing great. Move forward. Keep moving forward. Don't sin again. Don't go back to your old ways. Don't think like you used to think. Don't act like you used to act. You're well now. And some of you, you've moved on from cynicism, but it can be tempting to go back there again. Something happens in your life. People deceive you, you hurt again. I want to invite you to stay in a place of divine trust. God, I know that thing happened to me, but I trust that you have my life in the palm of your hands. Amen. I know, Father, this was a setback, but I'm trusting you. I'm not letting that circumstance change my heart. Father, I know that this was not the news that I wanted to hear right now, but I know that something amazing is in the making and you're working the impossible in my life. There's something powerful when you sit in the seat of divine trust. There's rest in your spirit. I imagine Jesus looking in that man's life, in that man's eyes. 38 years, unable to live a normal life. 38 years with no alternative. What was the thing that connected him from a place of lost cynicism to a place of divine trust? What is the trajectory here? Because we know that the trajectory from naivety to cynicism is pain, heartache, heartbreak, trauma. We know what happens here. But what is the thing that causes you to go from here to here? It's faith, yes, but it's courageous faith. I imagine that man had to have courage. Because after 38 years, alone and abandoned, looking in Jesus' eyes, Jesus is telling him to do something that he hasn't been able to do for 38 years. Get up and walk. But remember, the impossible belongs to God. The possible belongs to us. And courage is a possibility. You might not know how it's going to happen, but you can have the courage to take the first step. You can have the courage to take the first step. This reminds me of Joshua. Because the people of Israel, they were stuck in the desert for 40 years. Quite literally walking in circles for 40 years. Stuck in a circle, moving in circles. And God appears to a man named Joshua. And this is what he says in Joshua chapter 1, verse 6. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Be strong and courageous. Friends, God doesn't want you to stay stuck. He doesn't. And when he meets you where you are, he will infuse courage and faith in your heart. Now, Alini and I, we've gone through many seasons in life where we felt that word of Christ saying, get up and move. And it seemed like it was impossible, but I'll tell you, this is something we tell everybody. Like, in the moment, there's the kind of faith and courage that enters your heart for you to take that step? Even the courage is divine. You know, even the moment of courage, when God says, be strong and be courageous, something enters your heart and you go like, I'm gonna do this thing. And some of you, you're feeling that stirring right now in your heart. And I want to encourage you to be of good courage as the scripture tells you. You know, I'll close with this thought and the worship team can come back up. Don't be surprised if in your newfound freedom, you find some people who do not support you in that new place of peace. Because what's the first thing the man encounters on his way out? He didn't meet people saying, oh, you're healed now. I'm so happy for you. How did it happen? High five, man. No. First encounter John recounts is, hey. What you doing there, holding your mat? Nope. You can't walk around with your mat. Your mat tells me that you got to be on the ground. Plus, it's the Sabbath. It's a holy day. There's no mat carrying on holy days. This is the day of the Lord. How dare you walk around with your story? Walk around with your healing. Walk around with the impossible being done in your life. I want to remind you of this. There might be religious people, quote unquote, surrounding you. That doesn't mean they know God. You know, that's not God. That's their cynicism talking. There's plenty of religious people stuck in cynicism. Maybe that might have been you at one point. Got church hurt. You're part of a religious experience that made you a cynic. Couldn't believe in God anymore. You didn't even know if this whole thing is real. Bible real? Because I don't see any example being lived out. Perhaps this was the story of this man. He was a Jewish man. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been reprimanded by Jewish leaders. And the Jewish leaders, his religious leaders, the people who were supposed to care for his soul, they weren't happy for him. We were just looking at him and looking at the laws, at the rules that he was breaking. See, even people who call themselves religious can move their understanding of life with God so far away from the reality that they don't even recognize when God is moving. The first thing that religious leaders should have said is, whoa, tell me how you got healed. Did God just move in your life? They were stuck in their religiosity. And I want to encourage you today, when God does the impossible in your life, He's reaffirming His authority. Notice there was no question in this man's heart on whether he should pick up his mat and go, because God just did the impossible in his life. I don't care what some religious guy is telling me. God just did the impossible in my life. He just worked a miracle in my life. God did it, and I'm going to walk in it. And that's my encouragement to you. If God called you, walk in it. If He did it, walk in it. Having the courage to move into divine trust means I know that the world is not godly. I know that there will be some setbacks, but I'm going to rest in God's presence. I'm going to rest in His will. And if you choose to do that, if you choose to trust the one who called you, you will see God do the impossible in your life, and you will see breakthrough in your life. Do you receive it this morning? Amen. Amen.